people start support is probably the least favorite position. When you play more, you start to realize that it's actually a really nice role to play and really important and impactful, and you kind of get the grasp like how to really impact the game a lot more than maybe in some other roles. When you get like to the competitive stage, it becomes a lot more important to watch VODs of other players and what they do. But the most important thing to getting better is just grinding it out at first, at least. Well, pretty much every support is playable at the moment, but I think like Thresh is really good. It's like a little more mechanical, and like Bard, Bard is like a little more roaming focused, which is really good. Also, you pick up chimes, so you are forced to kind of watch your minimap a lot. So that really helps with your map awareness at first, I think.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're gearing up for our fourth and final game of the day. It is Godsent versus Singularity. Lots to unpack here. Both teams, I think, have got a lot to work with, but obviously still need some time to mold their final forms. Let's have a look at Godsent first, veteran.
Yeah, so when it does come to Godsent, the thing that always strikes me in my head yesterday is how little we were actually able to see from their bot lane yesterday. They essentially got obliterated from the very, very first wave onwards. They weren't really allowed to play the game of League of Legends. And when you have your full bot lane down, you'd expect that to be it, especially versus the academy team of BTXL. But for Godsent, they had the strength in the top lane of Champion. We talked about them extensively. This is one of the only teams that does play very heavily towards their top side anyway, but the moment that Champion got his Trinity Force, you suddenly saw a very strong 0-3-2 formation coming out of them that we're normally used to seeing as like a comeback play from Fnatic and the LEC, from which Champion was able to make picks over and over and over again, and it made the game far closer than it had any right to be. I believe they managed to accrue at least 9 kills from that. Ultimately, they did still lose, but seeing their strength in the top lane makes me wonder how good a team this is if their bot lane is actually allowed to play League of Legends.
Yeah, and just speaking of that bot lane, we usually use this week 1 to get to know the players, get to know the teams and their strength. I never got to meet the Godsent bot lane when they played against BTXL. They were just out of the game from the 3rd wave, I think. They were just dived, 2 kills done, and it just kept going for them. So I think today we need to focus a bit more on the bot side, see what they actually have to offer, and actually assess them as a team, because they never got through it. And I think just in general, the 2v2 from the mid lane too, and the jungle matchup, we saw that it was a Skarner that came through too from C-Boy, and he never really had much impact in the early game. So would like a bit more of aggressive jungler where C-Boy can actually take the game into his own hands. I'm not necessarily asking for an Elise, well, I'm asking for these types of champions like Nidalee or Graves, or anything that can actually prove that you are a worthy jungler of being aggressive and helping your bot lane every now and then, because they really needed it when they played BTXL.
Yeah, and on the other hand, you do have Singularity where, yes, they do look a little bit uncoordinated and they don't have a general plan idea that they all want to follow together. So it looks a little bit scattered when it comes to the gameplay. But I just want to see Scooter and Vrau really go at it. We know that they can play that early game aggression. All they do is capitalize on it and have a plan behind it. How are they going to follow up after they get the kill, after they get the objective? It's these thoughts towards the final game plan that are gonna be coherent enough to bring in the victory.
And I think something that I kind of want to kind of look towards is that both of these teams, I believe, in terms of general consensus, we're looking at like almost a 50-50 in terms of going either way. A lot of people have put Godsent above Singularity, and I saw a lot of comments on Twitter asking why that decision was made. So I'm going to go to you, veteran. Why Godsent over Singularity in this particular instance? I
mean, Godsent are already able to abuse miscoordination in much better teams than Singularity. That wasn't necessarily what I'd already seen when I made those predictions. I made those before Godsent's first game was done, but I already had witnessed all of Godsent's roster, except for their new AD carry Hoys, perform really strongly with this heavy topside focus. They had an insane level of focus on it. This is a team that came with an absolute for sure identity, and a team like that is going to find more windows playing their style than than teams that are still trying to figure out their style. Singularity are coming in, they may have good players, but they don't necessarily function with one specific team identity, and that will affect their decisiveness, and not being a decisive team is death. And I think this is a team that can take it to them.
And just in general, I feel like I wanted to hook on to this one here, because Singularity 2, they have good players on this lineup, but I don't want to call them star players, but they have hungry players and a bit too much of them, because you keep seeing that they're going for plays that in a competitive setting, you don't necessarily need to do, and it's flipping the game from the get-go for your teammates too. I think Texer was a great example to him, just flashing under the turret, no vision of the enemy team, and that's just a Lulu in the lane, coming back, saving his ED carry with the shield, and Texer just dies on the tower. Same can be said for that invade they started off with Singularity. They have a good thought process about it, but it's not thought out well enough, actually. And that's just where it falters for them too. So I feel like if we can get a Singularity that gets together as a team and says, all right, who are we actually playing for here? Because we can't play for all 5 of us. And if they can start by saying maybe bot lane in this meta, I feel like that worked best for them too. And then it's just about, actually, I wouldn't say this too much to an ADC, but it takes that limiting himself, because he's way too hungry sometimes in these extents, and sometimes it pays off for him. But so far, it just haven't. It's small sample size, 1 game, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think what I'm excited about is we're actually going to finally see these teams have the ability to showcase what they're capable of. And I think that's kind of what most of us were kind of pointing towards when it came to this matchup, that this might be the game where we finally see where the strengths lie for Godsent, and potentially the strengths lie for Singularity if they can get their coordination together. We're going to go to a quick break. When we're back, we're jumping straight into draft. Don't go anywhere.
we're falling further. Only time will tell. Who's gonna wear it? Who's gonna wear it? Who's gonna change up what we've done wrong? Now it's over. Big dreams, big hearts will roll together. So wide awake now. It seems our hearts were always beating a different rhythm all along.
Picks and bans, final game of the day. Let's get into it. Team Singularity on blue side, Godsent on red, and immediately the illegal Zoe has been banned, taken away from the mid lane champion pool.
That's actually
love
because
to see it,
Migma.
man.
It's a misconception about Migma, and he hates when people does that. He keeps getting triggered every time someone calls him a Zoe one trick. But this time it just benefit him, I suppose. Zoe taken off the bat here. We do Silvaris from red side taken away, and actually a Trundle ban coming through. That's a bit interesting. In the qualifiers to TL Esports Series that the Godsent roster was playing before this, we did see C-Boy in this champion, and he is comfortable on it. Scoots Nidalee being taken away at the same time. So right now, Varus ban being the only one that we're used to, and the rest of them are actually a bit of a target ban.
Syndra ban on red side would be the last definite ban you're used to seeing. Otherwise, they're essentially saying that they don't think Singularity can flex it. So I'd expect that, and then expect an Aphelios Ezreal trade. Both Karma and Yuumi are up, so it could even be an Ezreal first pick into Aphelios Lulu. But that depends on this being a Syndra ban. Otherwise, I think it's just Syndra first pick. If it's not Syndra first pick, Godsent will take it, and then Godsent essentially just win the draft off that. I'd be very surprised if this wasn't Syndra ban.
And Hoist do
So
play the
many-
majors.
There you go.
There's just so many things that are just left open here. There's literally you have the sets, you have all the ADCs, you have all the supports like
Interesting.
Yuumi, like Karma, Aphelios, Ezreal. What?
Very
And you
interesting.
Okay.
So it makes sense though, doesn't it? Because either they go Ezreal, in which case they don't get Ezreal Karma with it. If they go Ezreal Yuumi, then you go Aphelios Karma. You'll actually have priority over them in early levels. That's not really a lane that Ezreal can contest. They're going to take the Aphelios away instead because they know that their Ezreal Yuumi plan will not be contested at all. So we're actually effectively seeing an Ezreal Karma trade. However, Karma gets to be held as a flex for the rest of the draft, so they can go with a different bot lane if Karma fits into a top or a mid lane state. So the Aphelios taken off is not really a surprise. Now the question is, do they commit to Lulu now, or do they opt into jungle priority? Fresh is still up, so maybe you would hold Lulu later and then go jungle now. They're hovering Graves. I think that will be locked, and that is locked. C-Boy on Graves. We've seen good things from him in the past. Excited to see what he can do with this.
And that was what I was talking about too. Like, we had C-Boy and Skana in the game yesterday, and we were talking about how he was a bit too passive. Now we're seeing champion straight off the bat. Aphelios, Graves, great late game scaling on the Aphelios, and great early game too from this from C-Boy's Graves here, who can actually manage to pull his team over the finish line this time. We are going to see the infamous Karma Ezreal pick come in here, and this jungle champions here. What do you usually go? Oh wow, that's a flex coming right in here.
Yeah, Scoot definitely leans towards Talia in the past as well. I like this. There are two flexes on my screen right now. Arguably three, but no one really does that with Ezreal anymore, unfortunately. And this is potentially a good response into Graves. It's actually very good clear, and it's a very good match. And on 6, you have a lot of map play-based options, or you put it mid, and we automatically have two very heavy priority lanes early on.
Ooh, and we talked about how Champion really likes his Fiora's Camille's. He showed up in the previous game with the Camille, now he's coming back with it, and he's picking it absolutely blind. This guy wants to go into this. I'm expecting to see a couple of possibly top lane bans as well if they want to go safer into it. But moving back to Talia, I criticized the fact that Scud and Vrau didn't play too much together. Now having the roaming champion either in mid or jungle, you can make plays quicker around the map and be there before the Graves does.
I mean, you can even be more aggressive with this, right? You can pair it up with a lot of CC champions too if you want the Pantheon to leave. We've seen multiple times there's still flex picks open for this, so you can't really go anywhere with this. I'm looking into the Recton ban coming through here, and just a lot of Camille bans coming through because you are third picking it with the counter here, being available for Singularity. So looking to place champion on his most comfortable top lane here in Camille. Lulu is being targeted out, and they're just going to remove all the support from Peterson here.
So I'm worried that this won't be an Ornn ban and that he'll view it purely in terms of the strict one-on-one matchup, but Ornn can very easily get Tabi's reset off here and be fine into Camille. I am surprised that they didn't opt into the Lulu there and go into double support ban. You could ban Fresh, ban Nautilus and try to play the game out that way. But leaving the Lulu open like this, maybe they're going to counter pick bot lane entirely once they know where the Karma is. And if Fresh Nautilus are up, they may actually have options here. That could be the plan, but it's surprising because I would have assumed it would be a last rotation for Champion, make sure that they don't get a super favorable matchup, and Champion can flex himself into APs if he wants to. A Zir ban to prevent them doing a nice blind mid laner here, and then opting into a really free counter pick on bot. That appears to be the plan. I'm assuming you're going to see Ornn from Singularity.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting they didn't ban it out. As you mentioned themselves, I think they're turning a bit too much in the 1v versus 1 matchup up in the top side of the map. Fresh still available here, so they are going to go through with that one.
It's an assumption. It does fit well as well if you're going to opt into a straight heavy split push composition, but you're assuming the Karma won't be flexed. And maybe they'll decide that now it's fine to flex the Karma into mid lane, for example. Maybe they think they can do it into the top lane matchup. I don't really think they can, but maybe they'll think that, and then they can do something better into the Fresh on bot lane with Ezreal. But I do like that adaptation, given that mid lane Azir is kind of off the table. They can do a very heavy counter pick on mid here. I like it.
Here comes the
Now,
Yasuo.
there you go. Double AD. It's worse than Ornn. They've actually gone straight for the Malphite. That's pretty insane. Actually. But that's the risk you took the moment that you opted to do the Camille there. I really think Lulu and then ban 2 would have been a lot better for them. There's the Yasuo, triple knock up. Wow. Okay. That's a lot of damage on that.
That is a really scary team coming out from Singularity here. And we've even seen in the past, back when Camille was extremely meta, the same goes for Malphite. We even have seen that Malphite just go for the Iceborne Gauntlet or Trinity Force into this Camille because his attack speed's low. It's just so volatile against this matchup too. Now, Migma having the Nico actually coming into this one. So they're looking at the enemy team, they're realizing, okay, they want to run at us. How do we prepare for this? And they're going in with the Nico here. A bit of an interesting team composition drafted by Godsent.
Please, I hope they hold this right now. I think the Nico is top and Camille mid. This is what I'd do here.
No.
They're gonna throw the Nico into the mid lane instead. Okay, so they could have really hard flexed on them by moving the Camille into mid, which would actually make sense given the priorities that they did here. But ultimately, it does look like we're gonna see this matchup. It's a very, very easy set of itemization for the Malphite here. And imagine trying to extend with the Camille here. It's so easy for the Malphite to engage on you, for the Talia to wall you off. It's very easy for them to just get in and kill you on any overextension at all. They have to play so well. I'm not sure the margin of error is something that Godsent can handle.
And we talked about how Singularity can play that early game aggression. I do like the Yasuo Talia here because you know that the second that Yasuo hits level 6, you instantly have kill pressure onto that mid lane. And I do like that. And also later onto the game, you have a very immobile Aphelios, you have a semi-immobile Graves and the Nico in the mid lane. Sure, Thresh does have that Lantern to displace one of these 3 carries, but is it fast enough as a Malphite ultimate? No, it's not. So once you burn these summoners, once you burn these flashes, then it sort of becomes telegraphed to go on back the second that Malphite ultimate is up and available and try to wreak havoc in the backline. This is, if anything, a more Singularity draft than we saw yesterday.
I mean, we're looking at a team that was looking for cohesion. They've put a draft together that's got pure wombo combo potential. Very much looking forward to this game. I think we're going to have a bit of a bloodbath towards the late to mid game if these team fights pan out the way that I think they're going to. Let's hand over to our casters for our final game of the day. Hit Brain and Orcs, take it away.
Oh boy, do I hope we have a bloodbath around the first week of the NLC out. Hello and welcome back to the caster desk as we're looking around that week 1 of the NLC Orcs. What are you making of these team comps? I am so excited about that wombo combo, but let's look on the other side. You've got the Nico, the Camille. How are we feeling about these matchups?
So I think the Camille is something that's going to try and avoid the team fights. We've seen it typically from Champion, where you know they have a strong 5v5. They've got the tools of the Yasuo. They have the Malphite, Ezreal hard to pin down in those circumstances, and the AoE shielding of the Karma. And critically, you have that alternative win condition, though, with that Camille. If you can get her ahead, she's in a position where she can be a menace in the side lane. You have the tools to sort of mitigate pressure. You have a Nico who's got decent wave clear. You essentially can just mitigate the aggressive tendencies of this Singularity roster, but it's about getting to that point. I feel like Singularity got a lot of pressure coming out from the bot lane. Scoot is on his Talia, so I mean, it's going to be an interesting matchup between the junglers who can find the sort of agency there. And also, it's the sort of fact that you have this Malphite, and if he can get ahead, he's going to feel a bit unkillable. Nico, not the best tank shredder as an AP support, and that's just going to facilitate Vrao and Takeset to really be relevant in this game.
Alrighty, well, the teams have taken to the Rift. It's Singularity versus Godsent. The first week of NLC has just been so much fun to be part of. I am super excited to get going on for next week, but let's keep our eyes on today's game as well. Today's games and our last game of the day.
And I think, honestly, probably our most interesting game, because this one has the analyst desk split pretty dead even between these two teams. I think both of them we expect to come out maybe middle of the pack or slightly lower than that within each of their groups. This is potential. You're against a similar strength team, in most people's opinion. You can prove yourself, get that extra point on the table. See if you can come out ahead. Both junglers starting on the red buff. Question is, will C-Boy look for something aggressive, or I think he's just going to go towards his golems. We see often Graves going for those early invades, but not in this case, at least so far.
Yeah, Scoot on a Scoot special here in that Talia. How does this go if these two kind of match up versus each other? If C-Boy and Scoot find each other in an isolated situation, lane prio doesn't matter. How do we feel this works?
Depends if Scoot hits his seismic shove. I feel like that's the thing with Talia. If you hit your seismic shove, she kind of just manhandles any jungler in the 1v1. If you knock them through your Unraveled Earth, unless they have another way to gap goes onto you, it just disengages the fight. You do a ton of damage to them. It's about C-Boy playing it intelligently. If he finds the jump on a Scoot, or if he gets a good opportunity to dodge away from the seismic shove, that's when he can find advantages in the matchup. Mick's actually in trouble here.
Vrao actually found the right one. He's got the ignite. He's going to find the damage.
I think that's enough.
I think Migma might just die here. The burners is going to kill him. Migma survives with a sliver of health.
You know, they say always drink those health potions. Just coming in clutch there. Now, Vrao didn't invest that much in that situation. Didn't flash for the auto. Could have actually backfired if he did, because C-Boy was hovering in the vicinity. The end result is he forces the TP for Migma, and that is it. Now, we see Scoot heading mid. They want to shove the wave in. Then Vrao can reset. And that is exactly what's going to happen here. So, Vrao, okay with that situation. Sure, you didn't get a kill. Sure, you been the ignite. But you force the TP out. The ignite is a much shorter cooldown. And you still get off a decent reset. And it doesn't really hurt Scoot, because although you're back in base, he'll go for the top side scuttle. C-Boy takes the bot side scuttle. And actually, if C-Boy has any plans after this, which it looks like he does, there's none of Scoot's jungle up on the bot side to take. There is a bot lane.
There is a bot lane indeed, and that looks like C-Boy making his way over there. Remember, Pedersen can always go for the flash play if he wants to. At the moment, I don't think they feel particularly comfortable doing that. Singularity are just taking a step back. They're playing it nice and safe. Scoot on the top side. They know they don't have their jungler nearby. They don't want to risk throwing it away. Vrao went to base, got himself an extra Doran sword.
See, I saw Scoot channel the recall, and there's about a comment on how I think he should come top and help escort this wave in, and he cancelled it. He's coming top, so if C-Boy comes here to try and punish with a gank, very easy for them to go for the 2v2. A lot of burst damage available between them, but ultimately, Flaxis gets the wave in without any problems. He gets a chance to reset. It's always good to see junglers looking for those opportunities to impact the lanes. It doesn't have to be a gank. You don't have to be walking the lane looking for a kill. It's just allowing them to get the good recalls off, allowing them to crash the waves and come back with an item advantage and not miss out on any CS. And that's what he did mid. It's what he did top. And it's not actually needing the bot lane. A lot of shoving power from the Ezreal Karma. And as soon as they're not really worried about C-Boy being there anymore, they're happy to push the wave out. and be in a comfortable spot. So far, not too much happening in this game, but I'm sure that'll ramp up as we go along.
Waiting for those sixes. If you're on the side of Singularity, it's all about those sixes. Where is Flaxfish going to roam with Rao? That unstoppable force makes the Yasuo's life so easy. Not easy, but it's just easy engage.
I mean, it's a shame, honestly, that they didn't get the flash of Mikma. Well, Vrao didn't when he nearly took him down, because that could have been a very easy signal. Just come mid, press the R, boom, that's a kill. Ignite is up now, though, but Mikma having the ult available definitely sets things up for a turnaround.
He's hanging about. He's in the bush, looking to see if he can find something onto Mikma. Mikma's already been chunked a little bit. Good wind wall used by Vrao. They look for the seismic shove. They're not actually going to find it.
But they chunk him out, and they can deny him from this wave. That's a massive wave pushing into Vrao, so he can essentially keep it frozen infinitely if he wants to.
Well, they're actually able to dodge away on a lot there, and this actually does give priority over the river for Singularity. They roam their bot lane over as well to make sure they do remain in control here. Vrao has a big wave to go catch, though, so they'll head back over. I like the use of the wind wall there, and he's actually just holding the wave here, so looking to deny Mikma as much as possible. Seaboy and Pedersen do spot out only, and Scoot as they move through the jungle. I think they're going to be okay to give up this Cloud Drake, as Vrao actually just held the lane earlier, so yeah, don't really want to break that freeze mid. It's only a Cloud Drake. It's not the end of the world. I think they're okay.
They're playing for the waves is the important thing. So more focused on that. Vrao getting the freeze there to catch up on CS. Takes that not feeling pressured in front of his tower. And at the end of the day, the real benefit of getting dragons isn't the individual dragon. It's the soul. Obviously, the dragons have a lot less impact than, you know, last year when Infernal Dragons were with twice as much in terms of stats. That's when things are significantly more impactful. Right now, it's just, is this going to get you close to 4 dragons? And giving over 1 dragon, not really a problem. Giving over 2, again, not massively a problem. When you get to that 3 or obviously the 4 mark where it gets a bit concerning. Now, Seaboy just going to help Mikma escort the wave in. Get him a nice little reset. We are closed. Oh.
Yeah, you're not going to go under that tower. Not going to follow that hook.
Yeah, we are closed in on the 8-minute mark where we typically see teams go for the swap. And with the dragon down, that obviously is a possibility. So both Champion and the bot lane of Godsent have priority. So I'd expect to see a reset come out here. And I'd expect to see Hoyes and Pedersen swap up to the top side and look to prioritize this Herald. So we'll see the recalls coming in. Singularity going to be a little bit slower on that with regards to their AD carry, because Takesa is still clearing the wave. But Seaboy is later on the recall than Scoot, so...
Flaxish is just going to find Champion as well. He's just going to
actually really important. So actually, he stalls out the recall. Champion's still going to go for it. Flaxish, he's able to shove the wave in here.
Yeah, and takes it actually true shot barrage to bot lane. He wanted to shove the wave. So wave prior actually pretty nicely in favor of Singularity here. Now they're going for the recall, but there's 2 waves bouncing top and bot currently. Flaxish has gone for the recall. We're going to spend up some gold. Maybe head towards this bot side. Pedersen does land the hook and the fillet onto Only. Only's ignited. He's looking to run away. Collateral damage available, and first blood picked up for Seaboy. Scoot's looking to come in. They got the teleport. Here comes the Malphite. Can they find that big ultimate? Vrao's looking to get the gap closed. Does have that last breath available. He's going to hold it for the moment. Nicholas Clone maybe looking to bait some members out here. Vrao's going to head back towards the mid lane. He knows there's a big wave. Seaboy still waiting around, and Vrao also hanging in the wings. Flaxish needs to find a good engage here to set up the Yasuo.
The Karma's coming. They just need to play this slowly and wait for the Karma to be here.
Flaxish gets himself the engage. There's the last breath into the Pot Blossom as well. The box has been used. Vrao slowed down in the middle of the team, and he will just be cut down by Hoyes. Flaxish is running away and takes there. Gets the blast cone to safety as Seaboy unable to chase him down. Singularity just fumble the fight, and that's Godsent to take.
Yeah, I feel like it was a poor TP from Flaxish, a bit late on the plane. You could tell they were disjointed because already Vrao was running away from the situation. And then they could actually have stalled that situation out, waited for only 35 to get there, but they pulled the trigger too soon. They end up fighting 4v5. Huge ult for Mikma, and it's just easy pickings for Godsent in that situation. Oh, he's actually able to threaten the tower there. Obviously, won't take too much, but the plate does go down. And really, Singularity, just messy decision-making in that situation. Godsent happy to capitalize.
And the key thing here is look who got ulted. It's the Fresh. He got into Pedersen. Hoyes is able just to auto-attack Vrao throughout the entirety of his ult animation. So it was just easy pickings this
Look
fight.
at only
Massive
35
fumble.
on the bottom of the screen. He was literally walking back towards the Herald, gets picked out by Champion. And it was just a split fight. You know, when we're talking about the team fight and strength of Singularity, it is in these grouped fights. You want to combo the Malphite ult with the Last Breath, have the shielding to hit as many members as possible from the Karma. Instead, it was very split up, and that really allows Godsent just to excel in those situations.
And Vrao was also going in with just a double Doran's blade. This wasn't particularly a massive power spike or anything to speak of. Now, with that, Godsent are the team running around with the Rift Herald. They're able to secure it in all of that mess and all of that chaos. See where Seaboy wants to place it. At the moment, he's leaning towards the bot side, but he can place it mid if he wants to.
Yeah, well, next priority will be this dragon. You could throw it down mid, and there isn't a ton of wave clear on Singularity unless they really bring Scoot over. Vrao has to get up in range to start to cut through that wave. So an opportunity definitely to challenge the turret somewhat, draw them away from the dragon. Alternatively, they can put it bot. If you actually look, there's a lot of warding that only 35 and Scoot have just walked over. They know that they're all topside. They know that Takeset is isolated on bot lane, and instantly you can see that Seaboy heads down. Takeset's isolated.
There's no teleport as well. Takeset, this could be really dangerous. He has the flash, he has the cleanse. Everybody is making their way down. Not really going to be able to do too much here. Takeset has to be careful for Seaboy. Arcane shifts away, gets slowed down, and now he's literally being cut through. Seaboy will chase him down. One more auto attack into the ulti, and Seaboy secures the kill. What was Takeset doing? His team was not there.
I mean, what was Takeset doing? What was the team doing? Multiple issues. And this is the fundamental problem right now with Singularity, the lack of coordination between them. It just feels like they're on different pages, in different books, in different bookstores right now.
It's also the way you say books. It's what makes me laugh about that more than just about they're in different bookstores.
Yeah, I'm Northern, I get it. I mean, we are in the Northern League Championship.
We are in the North. I guarantee you're probably the only person in the Northern League that says book.
You know, maybe. We should, before anyone gets entry to the league, we should run through and test how they say it. We have a quota to hit.
So we get good representation on people who can't speak.
I mean, I remember some of your play-by-play from last game. I wouldn't be getting into that, Jake. Oh, and he does the thingy.
I can't believe I said thingy as instead of grey help. Hey man, we've had a long week. We've had 4 shows this week.
Well, shows
16 games, am I right? Is my math off? Yeah, 16 games this week. We've done a lot of casting, buddy.
16. Good job.
Gonna look real silly there.
I can wait.
Like I do that on a regular
Jake,
basis.
just 1 second. I can hear something. I think it's your brain whirring in the background.
Yeah, it's all the cogs are turning. All right, well, Scoot going for an invade. He's going to steal away this red buff.
They're still kind of leaving Takeset on an island, just trying to freeze and catch farm, become relevant, which I'm not going to say is a necessarily bad idea for Takeset. I think he's a lot less valuable than the Malphite, who is at least like a brick wall right now. But they're just looking to hit their spikes. As much as the fact that the enemy team has a split push Camille, as much as they have an Aphelios, if Singularity can get to those team fights later on, if they can coordinate those, they definitely have a decent chance. And being 3,500 gold behind right now, you really don't want to be trying to tango with Godsent.
No, they don't at all. Singularity just doing their best to kind of get the gold onto their members. They've sent Vrao into the top lane. He is going to look to base at some point soon, but he hasn't even finished up a zeal or anything at this point. He is very, very weak. Things are going down towards this blue buff, and Seaboy has the knowledge.
Sorry, I'm actually interested to see Vrao's gold, because he's been sitting on those items for a long time. Yeah, he's got, I think,
Okay,
1,900 in his
gold.
pocket. Yeah.
I feel like he's just going to chill for a bit. You know, there's no dragons up for a while. It is an Infernal map, our third one in a row today.
Today's been a fiery day.
It's pretty warm. I'm sure it's not warm for some of the countries represented in the Northern League Championship.
Yeah, definitely
They are
varies.
very northern.
I mean, things just been pretty slow, but now there is an objective available. Godsent going to move over to that Herald, and they've got good vision control. They got priority mid and top. You can see resets coming in from Singularity, and this instantly signals to me they want no part in this. They're happy to trade off the Herald, but they do need to get back to mid lane quickly. Scooge is going to be able to catch this wave. Herald's not done in time. They should be okay in this situation. And now with the resets already down, they should be able to defend, so...
Frau got
Won't
an
be able to
instant
take this.
Essence Reaver. No, not Essence Reaver, sorry, Phantom Dancer.
I mean, saving up. Imagine if you got interest on the gold you had in League of Legends. It's like if you had 3k
The
in your
longer
pocket.
you don't base.
Yeah.
I feel like there'd just be some champions who would abuse that really hard. Like, champions which are like good lanes to say, like Ornn.
I mean, I guess Ornn, they'd have to change Ornn because you can literally build items.
Yeah, actually, I guess Ornn would actually be really garbage with it. Like a champ like Vladimir who has no mana and can just heal off the minions. He could just go top lane and just sit
Yeah,
there.
Vladimir, you just get
It'd be
PDR
similar like
and chill.
Kleptomancy Vladimir where you just kind of
Nastus.
AFK'd.
Nasus, it's like you just chill top lane for 20 minutes and then you go full build, 3,000 stacks something. It's like game's over.
I feel like that would just really benefit any manaless champion. Garen would be really good as well because of his passive regen and
True.
set.
Warmogs would be the new meta. You just build Warmogs. That's your first item, and that's your last item before 30 minutes. But
Basically, I'm really glad that's not a thing.
yeah. Yeah, but then Yumi is a thing, so
Yeah, well,
I think I'd rather have that and no Yumi. In
that's a
my-
different bridge we need to cross, and we're not having that conversation now.
Well, you see Singularity looking to contest this dragon. Obviously, the third one is when it gets really concerning. There's the threat of that soul once you're on soul point. So they're posturing in the area. Blackstitch is going to answer top. But they have some vision control in the vicinity, and they could well be looking to take this team fight.
Champion is smashing through those towers.
Did you see that wave clear, though, on the Malphite? Just
That was
bap,
pretty
bap,
beautiful.
gone.
Adding Titanic Hydra to his W was kind of nice. They're just going to pull him away here. Rift Herald gets summoned up, and I
mean,
think
they're
there's a
just
Singularity.
sacrificing-
They're
they
just
don't
going to
care.
sacrifice it. They're not
Goodbye.
even interested. That tower is going to sustain for the moment, but Singularity closing in. Scoot is on that flank. The Weaver's Wall will actually cut everyone away from the pit. That might have been pretty big for Scoot, but he can't get in the area to smite it either. So we'll just reset for the moment. Malphite off in the alcove, ready to kind of teleport in if he needs to. Seaboy flashes over Scoot.
Oh,
He
no.
gets touched by Pedersen. He has to flash away. Mikva lands into the snares, lands into the damage. That's the last breath onto Hoist as the True Shot Barrage will tidy it up. Blackstitch gets hooked. His champion looks for the stun. Takes it, will get caught in the Hextech Ultimatum, but Vrao is looking to keep his AD carry alive. Mikva finds the slow. Mikva uses the clone. Blackstitch is running away from everyone as the fight just breaks out on every front. Singularity get walked through, and now they're being run down. Mikva looking for the next one. A great
stopped
knock up by Vrao. He does throw out the wind wall for the moment, but still gets slowed down for the moment. He's just buying some space. Blackstitch is out of there. Vrao lands another knock up. He has a blast code, but he may just look for the execute at this point. Mikva looks to hunt him down, and Vrao actually is going for the 1v1. Champion jumps over the wall, gets a two-man knock up. Vrao 1 versus 2.
Wait, he's away!
Vrao survives. What is this man doing on Yasuo? It's godly.
They lose the fight, they lose the dragon. At least Vrao looked good in that play, and he does get away with his life. You got to take the small victories in these situations.
That was some serious style points for Vrao.
He has the moral victory now.
Playing that smooth is what untilts the Yasuo. We all know how easy Yasuo's tilt, but something like that just untilts them.
Shame they're still 4,000 gold
They're
down.
still losing, but yeah.
Yeah.
I see the Iceborne Gauntlet pickup for take set here, so he really... Wants to be able to survive, and you've been hitting on this with the Ezreal. We've seen a lot of Ezreals over the last few days, but we haven't actually seen the Iceborne Ezreal. And one of the things you were talking about was the power of that item combined with the fact that when you get the Death Dance, you have so many extra stats that he's really hard to cut through.
Yeah, it literally, he gets so much armor. It's like you have 2 Malphites on your team. We are going to get a replay of this one, so ultimately they sacked the mid tower to commit to this, which, I mean, I think it's okay, I guess. It's still alive. Wait, yeah, this is rewinding. This is weird.
Backwards in time. We're seeing the replay backwards. Well, if anyone wanted to know what League of Legends looks like backwards, you now know.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly helpful, but it was cool, so I'll take it. That's what.
Have you ever seen Ezreal walk backwards?
That's what Singularity wish could happen.
Good collateral damage by Seaboy actually will clear out the wave, and that'll save that turret's life. Meanwhile, in the bottom top side, Mikma and Champion are just pushing away. Singularity won a 5-on-5. Godsent have no interest in that. They will win the 5-on-5 because of the 6k gold lead, but they are more interested in just splitting the map.
Why risk it? Just split the map, keep them spread around. Mikma has the power of the GLP just to really disengage any tricky situations and apply that pressure. And Champion, he is super powerful. Malphite's full armor, but doesn't matter too much when your opponent's got true damage. And once again, we're seeing Singularity, although they got some damage in the tower, they're forced back in towards that mid lane. They are looking for Seaboy, but he just doesn't even feel threatened.
No, Seaboy is pretty tanky at this point with the cleaver as well. A lot of extra health to work with. Singularity, what do they need to do? What is the game plan here, Orcs?
Wait for the enemy team to try to do something stupid like a Baron, get a 5-man Malphite ult, win the game.
Okay, outside of the perfect wombo combo, there's got to be other options.
I mean, you just need to wait for an opportunity for your opponents to mess up. You have team fighting potential. As long as you aren't giving up more structures in the side lanes, like if you're starting to lose inhibitors, that's where it gets dangerous. But if the enemy team isn't ending the game, you're still just buying time, and eventually you're hoping they make a mistake. That's when you get the big engage. You rely on your team fighting, and you hope that you can close things out.
Have you noticed that our observer is a little bit like a Labrador when you throw a ball? When the true shot barrage goes out, he's following it. It doesn't matter, even if it's not going to hit anything, he just follows it.
I think he actually prefers the one that missed. I think he prefers it when it goes flying off in nowhere, because he likes following it and being like, what are you doing?
It's just
zoomed in to say yes.
He agrees with you. He just nodded in game.
He's learning. He now knows how to communicate.
Oh god, he's gonna replace us soon. All right, well, 22 minutes on the clock. It's a 4k gold lead over the Godsent. The Infinity Edge, the Hurricane picked up by Hoys. Takes is building towards that Death Dance. He's got the Warhammer. His Muruman is fully stacked up. He's got the Iceborne. Vrau got the Crit Cloak. Got to have a fair amount of gold. Building towards that Infinity Edge if possible. Seaboy is able to get away with the Lantern from Pedersen.
Yeah, a little bit poke comes in. And now the stage is set for this Dragon spawned in 30. 5k gold lead for Godsent. See the individual values in front. Jungle is the biggest disparity by far. But honestly, other than mid lane, the gaps aren't too significant between top and AD. So just has to factor in how this fight will go. You definitely see Singularity have a bit more control of the river area, but the side waves favor Godsent. Flaxish moving up to the top side to clear that wave. And you can see Vrau now moving bot. So again, Godsent has the favorable side waves, and now they can use this opportunity to push up and establish control in the Dragon area.
Vrau really doesn't have that much AD. Keep that in mind. He is sitting on a Phantom Dancer and an extra Crit Cloak. So he has a lot of crit right now, but he actually doesn't have too much AD to back that up. He hasn't been to base. He's got enough for a BS Sword in his pocket, but just hasn't got it yet. Vrau have a good win, Wolf. This needs to be a steal. Scoot saves the day. Flaxus is coming in, gets himself the ultimate. The last breath does come down by Vrau. This might be that wombo combo you were talking about. They find the shutdowns across the board. 2 kills for Singularity. Champion catches Takes, but Takes
he's still alive,
mopping up the fight. Flaxus should only continue to go. Godsent get wiped out of the fight.
And that is the miracle that Singularity needed. Scoot comes in with a steal. It's all you have to do there, but then they manage to find the fight. Flaxish gets an ult onto Mikmer and Hoyes. Vrow, the CC on him, the root just ended in time. Watch this moment. So Scoot obviously goes for the great steal. And then the ult comes in from Flaxish, but Vrow's actually rooted and he's waiting. And then he just ends for him to press the last breath. Takes that, dives in to finish off the Aphelios. And then it's just a cleanup from there. Flaxish too strong right now in this Malphite for them really to go up against. But it was a fight of literally milliseconds. Could have made a huge difference. But Singularity, they get what they need.
And also the armor on Take Set saved his life. Champion couldn't cut through him because of that Iceborne. Scoot now actually might just be getting himself caught out. Smites the blue buff. He's going to lose a little bit here, but the hook goes down, and that will be C-Boy securing himself an unstoppable kill. 5-0 on the Graves right now. This has not been Scoot's game, and with that, Godsent are just going straight onto Baron. Flagfish doesn't have unstoppable force for quite a while yet. This could be really dangerous. Mikmer's on the flank. The True Shot Barrage is going to do a lot of damage, though, and that will actually force Godsend away. Vrow throws out the Wind Wall. That Unstoppable's coming up soon for Flaxish, so they need to be careful about that. It's just about to pop in. They can look for the Wombo once again. Flaxish steps in forward. They find the ultimate. They don't get the last breath down because Vrow was CC'd by the Pop Blossom. They are looking to take it up, though. I didn't see who stole that. That's going to be the secure by C-Boy. Godsend do find themselves the Baron, but they lose so many members. Takes that just too low, only has to keep running, and Godsend looks to chase down only. He flashes away, gets the slow off. In comes Scoot with the Weaver's Wall, and he's looking to try and take down Champion now. Catches him inside with the Hextech Ultimatum. Scoot's getting just absolutely demolished by Champion as he is able to save his life. That was close.
I was definitely close to Vrow. Once again, getting the last breath, but ultimately this stun from Mikmer clutch in that moment. Definitely could have been a different fight if they'd managed to pull that combo off. They get the Baron though. C-Boy secures it before they go down, and Scoot takes a Weaver's Wall straight down mid lane just to die again. His signature pick, the Talia, outside of the Nidalee, I'd say it is his sort of go-to, and he's just not having a good game on it right now. Flaxish is having a big impact in these team fights, but it's just not enough.
I think that team fight illustrated how close that last team fight was. The difference of Vrow being able to ult and not being able to ult.
Absolutely.
Completely decided that team fight. And that's all on the back of Mikmer with a fantastic flank Pop Blossom. He sat over that wall patiently, knowing that play was coming up, and he didn't let it happen.
The thing is, though, Vrow could have forced it. He had his flash. He could have flashed out of the Pop Blossom and then ulted with the last breath. He had the ability to make sure that ult landed, and yet he didn't. So really, as much as we're criticizing Scoot here, and absolutely that was his fault, the whole passage of play, he was the one who got picked twice, but Vrow could have done something more. We'll have to see if he's able to do that the next time.
He flashes forward, misses the tornado. You can see the frustration for Singularity, only rubbing salt in the wound there.
Now with flash from Vrow down, it's not really an option. You can see the side lane pressure coming in again from Godsent, and no one's answering. Singularity are playing ARAM. They have lost track of the side lanes, completely disregarding. They're losing a tower. They might end up losing more if they don't send someone down.
It feels like desperation here for Singularity. They're looking for that kind of big pick, that big moment, but the waves are miles away from them. Look what's spawning up in 40 seconds. It's the Infernal Soul for the side of Godsend. They were lucky to steal it away last time. Scoot did get a good steal, but he has to repeat that.
I mean, for me, it just feels like we're seeing potentially something happen.
Only's hook. That was not what he needed.
Only takes one hook, not 35. But I feel like for me, Godsent have just had better fundamentals. Their wave control, a lot better. Often Singularity push to get control of the objective area. Godsent push the side waves in. Then Singularity has to answer. Godsent rotate, and they're the ones who come out ahead. TP coming in.
Flaxish is looking for it. Vrow waiting over the wall. He gets instantly stunned. They know who they need to kill. Champion will find it though. Vrow gets the tuck down. For the moment, he's on that flank. Looking for that wombo. Looking for that ultimate. Looking for that opening. Vrow hooks though. Can't do too much. He will be taken down. Scoot looking for Mikmer, but Mikmer gets peeled out of there. And with the pop, Down they go. More members of Singularity just getting walked through by Godsent. Godsent just playing so clean and crisp in these team fights.
Just ultimately a one-man Malphite ult isn't enough. As much as they took down Champion, they got a big shutdown. It's not enough to turn the team fight, and they just end up kind of flopping. Godsent really far ahead now. 8,000 almost. They have the Infernal Soul. It's going to push up this bot lane. It's only really take set to defend.
And can take set defend is the real question. I don't think he can. Hoyes is mincing through that tower with the Infernum. They are able to at least defend the inhibitor, but they lose that tower. Now it feels like Singularity's win conditions are just evaporating before their eyes. And for Singularity, it feels to me like this game is now just going to be based on either a big wombo combo or a big mistake. Let's have a little look at that team fight, though.
And you can see Flaxfish is looking for Hoyes, but he realizes it's pointless if Rao can't follow up. So he decides to save Rao, kills Champion. But at that point, they've lost all their momentum. Rao gets caught in some CC, no flash available. They burn through Flaxfish, and Takesa isn't able to really contribute. Scoot just does what Scoot has done all game and just dies. So a rough one again. And I feel like at this point, I'm really questioning even if a massive Malphite ult is going to be enough, because we're seeing a Zhonya's from Mikma, a Death Dance and a Stopwatch for Hoyes, and then Champ and a Seaboy also with those Death Dances. It's very difficult to actually cut through these members on Godsent. Even if you find the combo, you're going to need a little bit more.
Well, they're looking for that wombo combo at the moment as Champagne is just pushing in this bot side. Someone has to go answer for it. Otherwise, they will just lose the base. He has a pretty big wave to work with, double cannons.
And importantly, no one has TP on Singularity, so whoever goes to answer isn't going to be able to join in at a Baron fight. And it is spawning in just under 40 seconds, so if Flaxis goes, sure. But eventually, he's going to have to leave to join his team. And Scoot, what are you doing?
He has ultimate, but he is just going to get caught out by Seaboy. Scoot just feels like he's in his own head this game. Greeding for camps. Itching for some kind of relevance and dying 17 seconds before Baron Nashor spawns up. Feels like he's just gifted it again.
I mean,
the second time.
He just seems tilted. Just flat out seems tilted. There's no reason to be there. Looking for something here, though.
Yeah, Vrout doesn't actually have that knock-up available. Now has it. So he's looking for Hoyes. The Gravitum's on, lands the knock-up, goes in for the last breath. Hoyes, if he dies here, this is big. Vrout actually looking to cut through him. The True Shot Barrage is dodged away. He throws down the Moonlight Vigil, and now Pedersen looks to chase him down. Lands himself the flay. The box onto Vrout is just so big, and Vrout will be taken down. Pedersen finds the kill. Mikma misses out on the Pot Blossom, but it is just a comedy of errors for Singularity right now. Champion half health Flaxfish with a reactivation on the Precision Protocol.
And Rao's doing his best to try and take this game into his own hands, but it's just simply not enough. He forces summoners from Hoyes, he gets them low, but Pedersen's there to sort of provide the peel, and now Scoot.
Oh, Scoot, what are you doing, buddy? 0-8 and 4 on the Talia. I think, unfortunately, you might be a little right on that one.
I just... Moving on. Godsent now have the Baron. They are going to reset, spend their gold, and then look to push out onto the map.
Takes it doing his best to clear out the wave. Let's have a little look at the misstep by Scoot that cost him his life.
Thanks, production. You got to do it to him. That was it. Goodbye, Scoot. And, you know, we have plenty of those. There's a whole 7 other clips of Scoot dying this game. So don't worry.
The Stinger clip of replay text coming up was longer than Scoot lived there. It does feel really, really rough for him right now. There is still that potential. If you get that 5-man Malphite ultimate, then maybe you can do something. But even so, with the triple death stance onto Godsent, I don't know if they have the damage to stick.
They have triple stasis as well. They got Stopwatch and Seaboy, Hoyes, and Zhonya's on Mikma, so...
You need a 5-man Malphite ultimate and an insane amount of misplays and perfect plays by Singularity to pull this back.
Really, it's Godsent have to make a mistake. I don't think Singularity can force this. They need Godsent to misstep, and they need to capitalize. And to be honest, why would Godsent misstep? All they have to do is maintain the 1-3-1. Don't push up too far. They have the Lantern from Thresh to provide safety to the 3. So Seaboy can comfortably step up like this with the Lantern, and then they just apply the sideway pressure. How is Team Singularity going to engage when Malphite is trapped top lane? How is Takeset going to team fight when Mixma is just... I mean, look at this. He just can't do anything. Mid tower's
There's
going to
nothing
go.
they can do. They're losing turrets. They're losing inhibitors everywhere. Steelboy jumping in forward, looking for Scood. Not actually going to find it, however, as Blackfish is coming down, looking for Hoys here. They're just not going to find it. Vrau throws out something. He comes in for the last breath, but doesn't
Beautiful.
actually fully commit. Knows that probably would be his demise, and he's going to hold it for a better opportunity. But I don't think there is going to be a better opportunity.
He was actually
Mixma
rooted.
already taking one of those Nexus turrets down, and Singularity, they have to do something. Otherwise, they're just going to watch this game fall before them. Into the root, into the knockup. The last breath does come down. The Flaxis comes down. They do actually find a big shutdown there. Vrau trying to tidy up onto Migma. They can do a little bit something here. Vrau finds 2 kills, but Durson is going to go down. And Godsent, that was the misstep. That was the opening. The Singularity needed to buy them some space, buy them some time.
We said Vrau was fishing this game, and he finally found a big fish. Hoys goes down, and they managed to take out Migma too. It gives some breathing room. Elder Dragon is up. They don't have a jungler. There are 3
Someone
members
has
that
to
got sent
defend.
down. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. You have to defend your base, but honestly, there are 3 waves of super minions coming. If you're going to go for this Elder, you have to go now. You cannot wait. Let
They
Take
don't have
defend.
smite.
I mean, you just have to coin flip it. Honestly, just coin flip it. You don't have another option. If you wait for Godsent to respawn, you lose. Game is over. If
Well,
they
they're
get
starting
Elder
it now.
Dragon, you lose.
Seaboy's there. They actually do have that last breath available. They do not have Flaxis' ultimate quite yet. Champion getting chunked out by Takestep, but I want to track this dragon right now because it is already half HP currently. Flaxis just about to get the ultimate. The teleports are coming in. Flaxis has to make a miracle happen. Scoot jumps in forward as well. They miss out onto the knockup on the Seaboy. Can they make this happen? Can they make this work? They find the Elder, but the members are already too low. It's a double kill. It's a mop-up for Godsend. There is no one but Takestep and only alive. The turret has fallen to the minions.
The minions.
The base is overwhelmed. The Ezreal can do nothing as Godsend. They didn't even need to kill the Elder to win the game. I don't think Takestep can do anything here. Look at the amount of supers. Look at the amount of champions. This game is done. Team Singularity are out of here. Godsend take the win.
They had to go for it. Singularity, they found an opening. They had to try and capitalize on the play, but it just wasn't enough. Godsent were miles ahead of them. And really, it's just a lot of issues with Singularity. We know they were trying to force those team fights, but it felt like their general understanding of the game, the basics just weren't as clean and precise as Godsent. The wave management, far superior for Godsent, and it set them up for all those objectives. It was always, oh, Singularity have control of the area. Oh, wait, we have waves to deal with. Let's go send our side laners to grab them. And then it's Godsent pushing in, getting control. And Singularity were trying to fish for those team fights, but they were just getting caught out. They weren't set up for them. And Scood, I think that's the worst game I've seen from him. It was just
Unfortunately,
honestly tragic.
He normally has much better games than that. And I feel like it's a little bit of an unlucky game for him to kind of, pick out one of his signature picks. We hyped it up and it just unfortunately fell short. But I do want to give massive props to both Vrau and Takeset. Mainly Vrau. He really had all the odds against him and he was trying his hardest. And honestly, that game was probably closer than maybe it should have been, just off the back of Vrau. I mean, even here where he died, he was still trying. He was still seeing if he could make something work for his team.
Yeah, and if Hoys didn't have sums, he probably would have found that tornado, found that play. He had to flash it. And it's just situations like this. I felt like Vrau was constantly fishing for the plays, doing his best to try and find them. And Takeset was just on the back line, trying to put out the consistent damage. But you need the team to offer something. Ultimately, the fights were too split. They could rarely find those coordinated combos. They found one. The second one, the CC was on Vrau. And from then on, it was like you were stuck to picking out one member. And it just wasn't enough because you had so many threats on the side of Godsent that you had to deal with. And even when they found that window at the end, the Elder Dragon isn't enough to make up that deficit, to win a 3v4 in the Dragon Pit when you're already low on HP. So I gotta respect Singularity's tenacity. They still tried after everything, but there were some really big mistakes. There was some poor play, and they definitely showed less understanding of the game from Godsent, who I have to give praise to Godsent. They knew how to play that one out, and they absolutely deserved that win. I think Seaboy was stellar. I think the whole team worked together as a unit, and I think they've showed a lot of promise.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, tenacity to Singularity, but at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. It didn't come through for them. And there's not really much more to say. I'm very interested in what our analysts are going to say about that. So with that ado, we are just going to take a quick break and we'll be back with the analysts to break down that game. So we'll see you in a second.
Did you watch the news today? It was colored black and blue, they say. Drink your coffee from your favorite cup, but you're still not waking up. Oh, what a mess. You know how the story goes. Same as yesterday, or so I'm told. Sweep the filthy truth underneath the bed. Cobwebs in the corners inside your head. Oh, what a mess. We've got to clean it up. We trudge right through the mud. We've got to scrub out the trail of lies before another one. The world is a wreck we've built, made of fear and hate, complacence, guilt. We can change it with a simple test, but something's beating in our chest. Oh, what a mess. We've got to clean it up. We trudge right through the mud. We've got to scrub out the trail of lies before another one. We've got to clean it up. We trudge right through the mud. We've got to scrub out the trail of lies before another one. We've got to clean it up. We trudge right through the mud. We've got to scrub out the trail of lies. Oh, what a mess. I never knew how much I could feel till I met you. It's like I'm seeing all the colors for the first time, and I'm hearing all the music for the first time. I watched you grow, sweeter than when spring warms the snow, and you're smelling all the flowers for the first time, and you're singing all the music for the first time.
Well, what a game! I don't even know where to begin. That was the bloodbath. I think that we were expecting to see. There were a lot of kills and a lot of deaths as well. Let's start with Godsent, veteran. They got the win. What did they do to sort of achieve that?
I mean, they are again a team that has a very, very clear identity, and even though SMG like comped around trying to demolish that particular identity with the Malphite versus the Camille, etc., this team was just ultimately far more decisive than them in what they wanted to do. I also do want to say that like C-Boy had a pretty good performance here, but for me, Godsent presents a bit of an issue for the rest of the league because this is literally the only team that we see playing heavily for topside. Most other teams have identified this meta as being a meta specifically around bots, but Godsent on the other hand are prioritizing very heavily on those carry picks on top. They're prioritizing very heavily on the 2v2. They're prioritizing very heavily on the split push. They're very disciplined in that, something that we don't even expect some high level teams to be disciplined on, and other teams simply don't have the coordination up against a team that has practiced this one specific style so long, so much, and I think it will continue to pay them dividends. I think they're more prepared coming into the first week than most other teams are because they've already been together for so long and they already understand how to play out all of these situations, and many other teams on the other hand will simply be encountering those situations for the first time as a 5-man set.
And then obviously then looking over towards Singularity, things we wanted them to be more cohesive, Trouble. We wanted them to play more like a unit, and this team comp demanded it, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, and usually when you pick a Taliyah, you're usually looking for a roam on a side lane. Flaxis played pretty well on a side lane against the Camille. He wasn't dying there, but once you have a Taliyah in your team, it's something like a Nocturne, right? You want to shadow your side laner. You want to punish the split pusher from the enemy team, and that never, ever, ever happened. And of course, I have to speak about their bot lane as well, because it seemed like, you know, when the Death Stance hits in on the ADC, that Ezreal suddenly becomes a raid boss, and we saw them getting slowly but surely some favorable trades. Now, when a team has Vrao in it, it sort of hits home because I've seen him playing in a couple of Greek teams as well back home. So I do feel a certain way about the particular player. And when I saw that Taliyah being locked in, I was like, wow, that's a Vrao special. He has to go there. Skure plays at Taliyah as well. Skure left him with a lot of question mark ultimates into this game. But at some point, I saw a lot of dedication from Vrao. It felt like all the frustration from all the coherence that wasn't there for the team, and it was like, I'll just do it myself. And a lot of times it was almost working, but they had fallen way too far behind for it to bring anything to the table.
And I was just pleasantly surprised by Godsent, really. So I predicted for Singularity here, but I'm pleasantly surprised that Godsent proves me wrong. We're talking about Champion, we're talking about Migma, two Danish players who's never played on this side of competition here. And really just, we can talk about a bit of a sloppy early game, at least for Migma. He wasn't really there in the start, but as soon as we started talking about these neutral objectives, he was a key point, a key figure in starting these fights with his the Nico, and he was also very good at neutralizing the Yasuo pick. Every time they tried with Flaxis to come in for an engage, Migma was there to shut it down with his Nico. And I'm extremely pleasantly surprised to see C-Boy as well here. C-Boy, who obviously already been out in SLOs, for example, the Italian League 2, and he's back in Danish soil, or at least in Nordic soil here, to rally the troops, his fellow countrymen and Hoys. Well, Iceland, Danish, kind of the same, kind of not, but at least they're really here to prove themselves that they belong here. Even though they weren't thinking they were going to be here, they've really shown up today that they're willing to fight, and they take the victory.
Well, speaking of C-Boy, I actually have him ready with an interview, so let's jump over. And firstly, I'm going to, I think Gilbert has tried to teach me to say this, C-Boy. Tiluga. Is that right?
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah, there we go. And now, obviously, congratulations on your first win here at the NLC. I kind of want to, first of all, touch on what Veteran pointed out a little bit earlier on. You guys have a very heavy top focus in your draft. You're one of the only teams that kind of do this. Is this because it suits your team play style, or do you think the meta can suit this style of play?
I think it's more our play style than the meta. Like, most of the times, our bot lane is playing weak side, and sometimes it doesn't work out. And oh, sorry, I lost it. when we play for topside, it's mostly because champions, champ pool is Camille, Fiora, like these kind of split pushers, and he's really good at it. So I would more say that it's our style than the meta read that we have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we've seen Champion make some big plays. I mean, when you guys played up against XL, Champion did find some of those angles and, made it look like it was hard for XL in some of these fights. So we can see that kind of coming through. How did you adapt then from yesterday? Because obviously you came off a very tough match yesterday, coming into Singularity, probably a little bit, very much more, a level playing field, I guess, in that respect. What did you have to adapt to sort of come into this game?
I don't think we had to adapt like that much. Like we went into the XL game and we understood that they're the favorites. They just had a really good UK split when they were undefeated. So, and we're a fairly new team, so we didn't really expect much. But when we came in against Singularity, we knew that we had a fighting chance to beat them. So we were confident that we were going to win today.
Of course, and you guys looked amazing doing so. Obviously, you recently brought Hoyes into the lineup. What is he offering the team, as a new AD carry, I guess, in that regard?
Hoyes is extremely good at playing weak side, and he's also really good at playing mages. We haven't played that yet, but it will be exciting when we do. But he's really good at playing weak side, and yeah, that's what we were looking for when our former AD carry left.
Yeah, of course, and we really saw it in this regard as well, with Champion stepping up on that strong side play, and obviously Hoyes came in when it mattered. Playing the Aphelios, he was there to back it up when it mattered. So great stuff from him. And finally, before I let you go, mate, how do you see yourself stacking up against the rest of the NLC? If you had to put yourself in a position, which I know is hard to do, but how do you see yourself stacking up?
In our group or in all of NLC?
I'll put you in your group. It might be easier to call your group for the time being.
We're for sure going for playoffs. We think that we are better than Singularity, and we showed that today. And we think ENCE hasn't looked that promising. So we're going for playoffs. So I would say top 4. We're looking to go in our group.
I think it's very achievable. I think, if you guys play like that, for sure, especially with how your style differs compared to a lot of the other teams, it sometimes can throw a bit of a spanner in the works in that sense. So honestly, mate, thank you. Congratulations. We'll see a lot more of you, C-Boy, through this split. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, interesting there, actually, that, he talked about it being his team style, and to put on top of that, veteran, how he feels that Hoyes is really good weak side player.
Yeah, I mean, I was really encouraged by hearing all of that. I think honing in on one particular thing that your team does really, really well, we've seen in the RLs, pays massive dividends. No one would ever accuse the Misfits Premier roster with Leader of being a team that plays multi-varied styles. No one would accuse the big roster that won last year's summer of playing multi-varied styles. These are teams that honed in on something very specific that they did really, really well in the LDLC recently as well in spring, and they refined it. They understood it better than any of their opponents could possibly understand it. Maybe these are guys that could look to upset, maybe even upset the top 4 at some point. How many other teams are they going to practice against that play this particular style? These guys are going to have far more games with or against that particular style than any other team will. That could be the element of surprise that they need. And you know what? When the meta shifts, when Riot decide that we've had enough of this bot lane centric meta and they start patching it out, these guys are already prepared for that. So I think the future's actually very bright for them. I'm really glad what we've seen from them so far. Them and I think Tricked Esports today have been like the big shining rays that we might not necessarily have expected. And I'm really glad for both of the teams.
Yeah, and just to recap on today, obviously Monster took that win over Eminem very convincingly. It was Tricked that picked up the win over Dusty in a very, very interesting game.
Don't remind him that one. Do not
I know.
that one.
Nordavind won out against ENCE, and we just saw Godsent beat there. Trouble, just reviewing today's games, any highlights for you?
Oh, would definitely have to be the Dusty Trick game. It was so interesting to see how a whole game can turn around. It's just one objective, the Infernal Dragon, that turned the whole game 180 around. It was Tricked on the steering wheel at the start, then the game was shifting towards Dusty, and one objective can turn it all around. So I will still keep my eyes on Tricked because I really love the way they played from the start, but I do think Dusty are due for a win as well.
And Gulbog, anything that you were sort of particularly happy about today, or anything that really stands out in your mind as a good game?
I mean, obviously, I'm happy to see success of Godsent. Obviously, a lot of people didn't believe it. Not even me, really. But I also have to go back to that series with Dusty and Trick. Not only because it's those two teams, but just because it's the most competitive game we've had so far. It's been the most interesting game to watch for me, especially because we saw so many good plays being made, not individually, but the way they use the map pressure, especially from Dusty 2, that's extremely high-level League of Legends that we're seeing there. The same can be said for Trick, especially when we also talk with Aaron. He knows where they make that mistake, where they actually let Dusty come back. And Dusty at the same time, they're going to do a what review. They're going to look at this and they're going to be like, maybe we shouldn't have gone for that Baron. So I feel like the future is bright for a lot of these teams. One of the teams I want to follow in the future though is M&M, because I feel like they got the Godsent treatment where they really didn't get to say anything about themselves. And I'm curious to see what kind of team style this team is going for too.
I'm also really encouraged by the Dusty versus Tricks matchup. I think both teams displayed really, really good map setups that the major four teams should actually be very, very worried for. I thought that we would see Dusty come in as a potential competitor for the top four, and maybe if they don't get completely thrown off on level 1, that game would have just been a lot cleaner and a lot more in their favor. But both teams demonstrated things that could potentially upset the top 4. Again, I think Godsent has also demonstrated that they are all inning on their particular playstyle, and we've seen that historically pay dividends. I'm really excited overall by every game that I've seen today. For me, the biggest question today that will go unanswered for a bit is Monster Rugby Gaming the real deal? Will they take out the academy teams? I really wonder about that.
I think that, again, it's one of those things that's very difficult to say because we haven't seen much from, I think XL had a pretty breeze game. They walked through that one. Monster Rugby Gaming the same. Yeah. Fnatic, definitely, there were some questions raised about Fnatic in their particular match. But I think next week, we've got Monster Rugby Gaming going up against Fnatic. So that is going to be one of the matches of the week that we're really going to keep our eyes on. Now, let's have a look at the standings for both divisions then. We've got a few more wins under our belts. We can see where things are. Nordavind 2-0 in their group, with BT and XL currently at 1 apiece. They have yet to play in their second match. And you can see Ensign Singularity down at the bottom. Godsent currently on 1-1. Let's move over to Division B. We can have a look more of a look there. And again, not as many games that have been played through Division B so far. We'll be catching up on that next week. But Fnatic, Rising, Monster, and Tricked all pick up their wins, with Barrage, M&M, and Dusty currently 0-1 as well. So obviously, not much to talk about when it comes for playoffs. Obviously, we've got a long way to go until that point. So we're really just looking at sort of the overall scorelines for these guys right now. But yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, obviously, we've got some games coming up next week, which are including that Monster Gaming Rugby versus Fnatic. Any games that you guys think next week we should be keeping our eyes on?
I would have to go with the BTXL riddle, because we talked about how these two will contest that group A, if I'm not wrong, and it's just 2 games back to back. You get the 2 academy teams, both BTXL and Fnatic Rising, playing against the 2 teams that we have in our minds can contest the top 1 in their groups. So I think these 2 are going to be fire.
Yeah, that's all happening on Tuesday.
That's going to be the same for me too. I'm actually looking to watch Maxi again. I'm a bit disappointed we only saw him 1 time this week. Not only because he's Danish and I'm following him because of that, but just in general, I feel like the play he dispelled on that his Graves has been extremely good and one of the more talented junglers in this league too. So I'm going to be extremely excited to see how the 2v2 with Senkirks and Maxi pans out against Taxa and Hatrix, who's also fairly new. So I can't wait to see how that matchup is going to go.
Godsent riddle for me, hands down. I actually want to see if Godsent are the real deal, and I think that riddle are a very, very big challenge for them. And if they will pick up wins against these teams ever, it will be earlier on, I think.
You actually read my mind. I have Godsent Riddle, the actual matchup, highlighted on the sheet right now. I was very much looking forward to that one, especially from what we've seen from Godsent today. So I'm very, very excited about Godsent Riddle. That's going to be a good one. But guys, next week, Tuesday, same time, 7 p.m. CEST, will join you. We'll be kicking things off with that BTXL versus Riddle game. You do not want to miss it. Make sure you're there. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. La 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 la. Yeah. Your life hits hard, but I hit right back. I never back down. I keep it on track. It's the same day with no problems. I keep rising from the bottom. 'Cause when the sun comes up and I look